is very, very extensive. And then they narrowed it down to the financial sector because that's really what Bank of Uganda is concerned with. The Bank of Uganda is the secretariat, so it holds the meetings, puts together the meetings, ensures that we have these meetings, and the meetings have been ongoing. So from the genesis of the technical working group, we created TORs. Does anyone know that one?
In terms of reference.
Exactly. Rudenda is taking all the acronyms today. He needs to stop monopolizing. So we put together the TORs, and we came up with what the technical working group is going to do and working on. And from those, we divided into 3 subcategories. The first category was on use cases. The second category was on regulation, and the third one is on cybersecurity. Now, those 3 subcommittees went aside with different team members, and then each of them put together a report and then brought it back to the main committee. So now, about 3 to 4 months last year, we were having those separate subcommittee meetings, usually every month. And then now those committees came each with a report, and we sent them to the secretariat, and the secretariat put together one draft report. Now that was put together earlier this year, and then now sent out to all the various stakeholders. And by stakeholders, I mean the National Treasury, the Ministry of Finance, Blockchain Association. So all those members sent to their various bodies, but to also other entities that could be affected with this draft report that the technical working group is. And what is the draft report covering? What are the use cases of blockchain in Uganda in the financial sector? So they listed all the various use cases that they have seen. And then what about regulation? So we spoke about regulation within the country, what's existing and then what's lacking. And then we did comparative analysis of what other countries are doing, best practice cases and things like that. And then now we moved into cybersecurity and things like what are the guarantees that should be there, because at the end of the day and ultimately it's tech. So it's very, very key for the systems to sort of work and be useful. And so that draft report is now in circulation and getting comments from those various departments, and that's the stage at which we are. Now, the mandate of the technical working group is to finalize this report with recommendations on how policy should move forward in regards to blockchain and regulation in Uganda. And of course, some of those are, there should be a framework, and we are recommending that it should start with what in law we call soft law. So soft law are things that it's not an act of parliament, but perhaps it's guidelines, sandboxes, and things where, given that it's new, we start with testing, but allowing people to be part of the ecosystem, see what works and what doesn't work.
So when you say soft law, is it more of a suggestion or is it strongly persuading?
It is strongly persuading in that if the central bank passed guidelines on how, let's say you would implement blockchain within the financial sector, then you are required to follow those obligations or those guidelines. But it's not what we call law, because it's not the hard law, because it's not an act of parliament. It then eventually will progress into an act of parliament, and then under acts of parliament you will find bills and regulations which really tell how that act should be implemented. But that's quite of a long process. So to ensure that people are still within the ecosystem, then you create other avenues on how they can test and still be able to have the products in the economy.
Edlin Murungi, everyone.
Wow. Sorry for bombarding you, catching you unawares, but if the public can bet that she did a fantastic job.
I have a question. Were you ever a Girl Scout? Because you have been prepared for a very long time. Well done, Edlin. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. I think in primary, but that's like a long time ago.
The foundation was laid. Thank you so much, everyone. Edlin Murungi.
Thank you so much.
As Edlin leaves us, I'm back to you, Mr. President. she spoke about multiple players. And one of the key things we need to discuss is how much of your program, how much of what you do is making people aware. There was a great question from FSD about education when it comes to the opportunities that are available, how, when, what, how, and what.
Very good question. So, and I said to her, very lovely question, and we honestly look forward to a partnership with financial sector deepening. We agreed no acronyms. So
no acronyms, no acronyms.
So, so one of the things we've done that started way back in 2023 was to launch the Blockchain Innovation Program, which at the time and still now, we did it in partnership with one of our anchor partners for the summit, which is the BSV Association. And we had a cohort of 50 young people who've since gone on to do great things. In fact, the winner in that cohort is now based in Malaysia, doing fantastic work. And so these are initiatives we continue to build onto. And later on in the day, one of the things we intend to do is to actually launch the second edition of the Blockchain Innovation Program. And why did we come up with it? Again, is to address the issue around education, skills. We partnered with Makerere University and other academic institutions. I saw a factory in the room. That was one of our great partners. The Innovation Village. So all these are people we worked very closely with to bring that program to life. And we intend to launch it later within the day. But also, one of the interesting things about skill sets that come to mind, Rodende, and this is one of the things I mentioned earlier, we have an opportunity as Africans. We have a young population that is growing so fast. And one of the things I said, such forums provide an opportunity for us to network. And I have been a beneficiary of vast networks that are just not based here, but are across the world. And so please network as much as you can. And so such forums, we will be also partnering with the CFA Society of East Africa to launch a number of webinars. Like I said, the CFA Institute is very proactive. You saw the presentation earlier by Olivier, who heads the policy formulation at the Institute. And so such partnerships become very important to help us educate, to help us spread the knowledge across the different young entrepreneurs and developers.
One of the key facets of blockchain is collaboration. And there might be somebody here who is thinking primarily the collaboration is purely on the tech side. What kind of collaboration do you envisage for everybody else who is not a player directly?
Now, if there's anything we've learned from the previous speaker, is that I like to leverage different people in the room. So I would like to call Patrick. Patrick is, people say we're brothers because we look alike.
You know, for a second, I said, wait, I saw Reginald in a green jacket earlier.
So one of the reasons I would like to randomly invite him as well is, again, the question you've raised around, you know, very intentional collaborations and thinking outside the box beyond technology. And I would like, he represents a family office based in Zurich that I have had an honor and opportunity to work with. So I would like you to share from your perspective as an international investor, as a young person, as my brother from another world, what you see are opportunities for young people to collaborate, upskill themselves, but also to leverage international finance, because funding is one of the issues that we have. And I think that's the anchor of collaboration. I can tell you 80% of the entrepreneurs in the room now are looking for opportunities to tap into raising money to support their businesses. So I just want you to share your perspectives on that topic. Yeah, thank you.
Well, thanks for having me. So I get up, so I'm more creative. My name is Patrick. I come from Switzerland. I represent international investors. They invest in exponential technologies across the board. We do a lot of fintech, and we like the idea of blockchain, the idea of transferring value peer-to-peer at micro transaction kind of nominals. So I'm talking a fraction of a cent. And why is this important? We're living in an increasingly digital world. The digital economy also in Uganda is increasing. And I think we're limiting ourselves to what we think has value, right? We know physical goods, services, but we haven't really explored yet the value we can assign to digital goods. However, we already consume a lot of digital services. Each of us, are using Google, Facebook, or now Meta. We are using API access, right? So we API requests. We're using GPS systems. All this is microservices that are provided. And they're provided by internet service providers today. And the idea that Thomas presented earlier of an enhanced version of an internet that has a monetization and payment layer is very attractive to us. Because we see what's happening in the AI world, and we observe that increasingly it's not just humans to humans who interact, but machines to humans and machines to machines. So when we talk about a digital identity, a wallet, it's not just going to be for humans, it's going to be also for everything that has an IP address. You have a phone, has an IP address. You have an Apple Watch, has an IP address, right? But the AI agent will also have an IP address. So they have their own digital identity, and they're going to create their own sources of revenue. They're going to interact with each other, independently of us, but hopefully still controlled by us, right? But what does this mean? We need a monetization layer that allows you to exchange value in real time and a very, very granular micropayments. And we had a question earlier from the audience that the minimum product value would be 100 UGX. The way this system is designed, you can use single satoshis, so that's a 100 millionth of a Bitcoin, as a medium of exchange. You're not using the native satoshi, you're using the medium of exchange to write data on it. Thomas elaborated as input and output fields, and you can insert data. The data can be a photo that you value, a piece of audio file, a video file, but it can also be a monetary value that you write on it. Very much similar the way we use money, as in like the paper or the coin, and print a monetary value on it. It's not the paper that is worth 1,000 UGX. It's the national bank that says this is worth 1,000 UGX and puts the stamp on it. Now what you have already is digital money. That's a common system that is used here that we don't know. Mobile money. It's an invention of Africa, right? And it's a great success story. Why did people adopt it? It's more efficient. It's 24/7. It's more secure, right? There's a security aspect to handling cash. And I'm convinced that we are looking at the next evolution of money. It's putting the conventional money as it's issued by the Bank of Uganda, the Uganda shilling, issued on a more efficient format, on a better paper, on a more efficient rail. And I'm convinced that this rail is a permissionless ledger. Now, there's a lot of confusion around what is permissioned and what is permissionless. And I give an analogy that I want you to think about. When the internet emerged, people or the companies first created intranets. It just feels more secure that you allow your people and your data to be just exchanged among a closed group of people. And that's the same what's happening right now with regards to CBDCs. And by the way, there's lots of CBDC projects happening across the world. But people are conservative. Nobody wants to be
Patrick,
first.
Acronyms. CBDC?
CBDC, Central Bank Digital Currency.
There we go.
Right? The Bank of Uganda issued a consultation paper. The IMF does their fintech notes every year. They're interviewing sub-Saharan national banks. And I think the number was 80% are exploring actively CBDCs, central bank digital currencies. So everyone is looking at it. And there was a piece in the Financial Times by the Deputy Governor of the Bank of England a few months back. And she reckoned, why don't we use blockchain technology to tokenize conventional money in order to help us grow the digital economy in the UK? So not just an emerging market idea, right? Also developing markets need to continuously innovate. I think there lies an opportunity in Uganda. You have a very young population. You have people that are ambitious. You also have a need, right? There's a need to create jobs for these people. And I think there's a huge opportunity in the digital economy. So the idea that a non-profit association comes here and says, look, we provide you the tools, open source, free to use. We give you the education. Come to us, right? Sign up, go on Discord, exchange views with us. and allow us to help you explore and innovate. I think it's pretty cool. I think we need more regionals of this world, because he's a man that 1 month ago said, I want to do an event, and then he just went out, found $100,000 and put a piece together like this, right? Great speakers and people that are interested in the topic. They want to take this further within 4 weeks. But this is people that go out and do. And I think this is the time for Ugandans to just go out and do. This is an economy that has growth, something that is rare today in the global north. Not sure if you're following macroeconomics. Germany is in a recession. Austria, my home country, is in this recession. We're looking for the next growth frontier. And people like Reggie, and I collaborate with him, we are observing that there is increasingly awareness and attention on sub-Saharan Africa. I think Uganda is a market that has been underestimated, is probably not seen next to its bigger neighbors, Kenya, economically, Rwanda. But there lies an opportunity in this. And I travel a lot. I spend time at the World Economic Forum. I visit other international investors. And I see a bit of an awakening. So if you combine now the African growth story with technology, like you have done before with mobile money, I think it's a win. And you will attract capital. Capital plus technology, which is productivity, will enable the growth story that Reginald mentioned today with the analogy to India and other South Asian markets in his introduction speech. So where am I going with all of this? I hope this is also motivation for you, that similar to this young gentleman here, Jonathan, you just come up with project ideas and start exploring, because there's literally just upside. Please join us later, have discussions with all of us. We're very keen to support. There's ways to support financially, there's ways to support with tooling. But I think the really first address, the people you should engage with, is the Blockchain Association of Uganda. So thanks for doing this, Reggie.
For a second I was seeing double there, but for everybody else, when you approached him later on, Patrick is in the green jacket, Reginald in the tan. Thank you very much. We're about to break for lunch, and we have loads of panel discussions coming up after lunch, which are going to be very interesting. Mr. President, your final thoughts and reflections before we break for lunch.
Yeah, it goes back to the same thing that I mentioned when we started, that this is beyond blockchain per se. It's emerging technologies, it's finance, it's regulation, it's convening, it's the ability to raise money for meaningful work. It's going back to the basics that help any economy grow, productivity. We spoke about the value of productivity earlier, that a 3 to 4% productivity growth in Africa alone will help us contribute about close to 10 or so % to global output. And so these are real things, real value, and I look forward to hosting you again next year and also convening a lot of thought leaders. Damali, it's a pleasure to see you, and one of the reasons I want to say this specifically is because I've been following your work on LinkedIn profoundly with the Private Sector Foundation, and I'm happy that you'll be on a very important panel, which is how to merge technology with academia and development finance. And so looking forward to you sharing your thoughts with your experience to the room. And this is the value that I spoke about earlier of convening such great people, that it's an opportunity for our young people to get inspired and to learn. What is PSFU doing? What is the Capital Markets Authority doing? What's FIA doing? What are international investors looking for? And so let's take advantage of all these opportunities so that there's value at the end of the day. Thank you.
All right, just drop the mic for me. Yeah, not literally, of course, we have to use it later on. But that was a mic drop right there. Thank you very much. Reginald Tumusime, President, Blockchain Association of Uganda. All right, we're going to break for lunch. Everybody, take 5. Okay, take 1 hour. See you back here at 2 sharp when we'll start our panel discussions. Thank you very much. DJ, track number 81.
The Blockchain Association of Uganda is an umbrella body that pulls together different ecosystem players that work with blockchain. So these are innovators, these are business people, these are people working in legal industry. So different aspects, regulation as well. So different aspects of the blockchain industry. And it works as an umbrella body of professionals that guide the development of the industry. It came together around 2017 by those who carried a burden that there was a an evolving industry around the world, but there was minimal understanding of it in Uganda. And so the players that were involved in Uganda, primarily those who were in technology and finance, are the ones that took the first step to say, how do we come together to play our role in Uganda to guide this industry? We see it happening elsewhere, but we in Uganda do not yet have a framework to guide its development. And so the players in the private sector who were involved came together to create the Blockchain Association, and that is how it began. So the primary goal from the beginning was to have an umbrella body of people in the industry. So once you have an umbrella body, you have a stronger collective voice in order to engage with government, to engage with policy and decision making. So that was really the primary goal. So once we created that umbrella body, then we began to define what are the things that the umbrella body should do, what are the things we should get involved with, who else do we need to hold hands with, that's hold hands both in Uganda and outside Uganda, in order to develop the industry better. So that's really what drove us at the beginning. The primary challenge of lack of knowledge is one that we sought to address aggressively. And so we began to engage the market quite a lot. And by the market, I'm referring both to business as well as government. People were playing different roles in the economy, in the blockchain economy. So we began to try to close that knowledge gap. But also because of that knowledge gap, scams began to enter the market, and it was very difficult for people to distinguish between what is crypto, what is blockchain, what is scam, what is legitimate. And so we spent a lot of time trying to educate those who needed to understand. So the onslaught of scams that came maybe around 2018, 19, around there, primarily took advantage of the lack of knowledge. And so we spent time informing both the public, but also those who are mandated with decision making, both Bank of Uganda, Capital Markets Authority, the police, the Financial Intelligence Authority, because those are the ones mandated by law to take different decisions in this industry. So we spent a lot of time closing that knowledge gap. So for sure, the scams were problematic, but I'm glad that we're able to similarly in turn hit back with equal vigor in order to keep the industry afloat in Uganda. In terms of milestones, I would say that quite a lot has been achieved. I was just speaking a few minutes ago about collaboration with other stakeholders. I think that is probably one major milestone to talk about. It's critical when you're doing anything to identify who else in the industry is doing something or should do something, and then hold hands with them. So we created a series of these. We identified other ecosystem players, both in the country and in the region. I'll start with in the region. In the region, we identified other blockchain associations. We worked closely with the Blockchain Association in Kenya, in Rwanda, in Tanzania, even in West Africa, in Nigeria, in order to do what all of us believed was our duty, to create an awareness of and an understanding of what this technology is, its capabilities, the risks around it, etc. But then even in the country, we worked hard to similarly create collaboration with other stakeholders. Stakeholders being the innovation ecosystem itself, whether it is Startup Uganda or ICT Association or ICPAO, the Association for the Accountants. We began to work with various professional bodies so that we can share the knowledge with their respective members, member organizations and members. But then even those involved in blockchain or those that were trying to make sense of it, we similarly worked with them. There were quite a number of practitioners involved in, on the technology side, those who are building applications, those who are testing use cases in finance, in agriculture, in health. So we provided an umbrella that could work with these different stakeholder partners. But why I was excited is because there's a new team that has taken charge of the association, and it's a very capable team of young, dynamic minds, an intelligent group that's involved in different sectors of the economy. Similarly, there are some involved with finance, there's some involved with the legal aspects of the industry, There's some involved with innovation, with exchanges, etc. So this team of young dynamic minds is now at the helm of the association. We handed over, the team that I led handed over at the beginning of this year. End of 2023, actually 2022 is really when we began to look at how do we restructure the association. And so we looked at the association taking new shape. We hired a consulting firm in town that helped us to define what that new shape would look like, what the governance structure, what the operational structure would look like. And then the culmination of that was a team that would be able to run with it. And so a new team led by Reginald. The Blockchain Association of Uganda is an umbrella body that pulls together different ecosystem players that work with blockchain. So these are innovators, these are business people, these are people working in legal industry. So different aspects, regulation as well, so different aspects of the blockchain industry. And it works as an umbrella body of professionals that guide the development of the industry. It came together around 2017 by those who carried a burden that there was an evolving industry around the world, but there was minimal understanding of it in Uganda. And so the players that were involved in Uganda, primarily those who are in technology and finance, are the ones that took the first step to say, how do we come together to play our role in Uganda to guide this industry? We see it happening elsewhere, but we in Uganda do not yet have a framework to guide its development. And so the players in the private sector who were involved came together to create the Blockchain Association, and that is how it began. So the primary goal from the beginning was to have an umbrella body of people in the industry. So once you have an umbrella body, you have a stronger collective voice in order to engage with government, to engage with policy and decision making. So that was really the primary goal. So once we created that umbrella body, then we began to define what are the things that the umbrella body should do, what are the things we should get involved with, who else do we need to hold hands with, that's hold hands both in Uganda and outside Uganda, in order to develop the industry better. So that's really what drove us at the beginning.